Do you want to know what it's like to surf in your first surf competition at age 35? Well, I did exactly that, and in this video I'm going to show you the highlights of my heat, talk to you a little bit about the experience I had, and what I would do differently if I was to do it all over again. So let's jump straight into the highlights of the heat. The power couple Andrew Levy and Debora Patta are commentating, and I'm wearing the green rash vest.
Welcome to the WSL Post Show. With me live in the studio is Andrew Levy, 86 world champion, here to talk about what happened out on the surf today. Andrew, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think my initial thoughts is, why did they even run the competition on such a poor day? I mean, you just saw the surfers out there battling the whole time. Ashton Hayes trying to get his first score on the board early on. That was a 0.2 and just couldn't seem to find any kind of rhythm. And I mean, here's a guy, Debora, that is 36 years old. He's never been in a competition before. He's riding out of the worst ways possible. He's riding with 18-year-old kids who are really professional surfers. And I mean, the waves just didn't help him.
Well, it's not up to the waves though, is it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were asking, should Ashton Hayes even be there? I mean, obviously there was that massive doping scandal in 91. That's what got Ashton Hayes off the tour.
I have to say though, those waves do look rather pathetic.
Yeah, I mean,
this doesn't look like world surfing.
This is definitely not world surfing that we know, and I think Musenberg had paid a lot of money for the surf league to come here. Here's Ashton's best wave. Oh, he just falls straight off it, and that was a 0.3. It is his first tournament back since the doping scandal of 91. Remember, 26 years he hasn't been on the tour.
But what I have to ask you is, should someone who's been involved in a doping scandal ever be allowed back?
I think it's important, Debora, to know that people can be sorry for what they did.
Being sorry is one thing, but being allowed to compete internationally, I mean, Oscar Pistorius is sorry for shooting his girlfriend.
Well, I mean, Ashton Hayes, he wasn't doping in the sense of doping.
Were you actually doping with him?
Well, we were doping together.
So that's actually why you're defending him.
No, well, what I'm saying is that he
what you're saying
was
is
doing a lot of commercial drugs. So they weren't enhancing, they were actually disenhancing.
So because you were doing it with him, therefore you accept it.
Exactly.
So it's incredibly embarrassing for me to post footage like that of me surfing online, but it is what it is, and the point of this journey is to improve my surfing, and at least now I'm starting from a low base and hopefully I can only move up from here. So I've followed professional surfing for over 2 decades now, and I've always had that urge, that desire to jump in a heat and just experience what it's like to put on a vest and feel the pressure of the heat. So for me to do that and experience it was just like a real highlight, and if you haven't done so, I highly recommend it. Also, what amazed me was the moment I announced that I was going to try compete in a surf competition, my friends and family were so enthused and they really got behind me and just supported and wanted to know how the training was going, so I really enjoyed that side of it as well. It was incredibly exhausting. In those 20 minutes of the heat, I paddled almost as much as what I do in an hour-long free surf. I also never expected to feel so much pressure in the heat. The moment I stood up on the waves, I just almost felt paralyzed and lost all ability to move freely and just kind of feel the waves. I was really just stuck up in my head, and that was I didn't expect that to be so intense. The other thing was that the pressure in the heat made it difficult to kind of think clearly and adapt my strategy to the changing conditions. So I definitely paid my rookie school fees in this competition, and if I was to do it all over again, there's a few things that I would change. The first thing that I'd do is I'd just try to take a little bit more pressure off the day by just planning a little bit better. And what I would do is I would write down a few rules of, if this happens, then I should go to this. And I think that would just help kind of alleviate pressure and think a little bit more logically on the day, instead of just being a bit caught up by with the nerves. For instance, I was expecting the conditions to be relatively small but offshore winds and clean. And when, just before I paddled out in the heat, the conditions actually got quite onshore and choppy, and the only real waves that presented enough opportunity for me personally to score were the waves out at the back. So my strategy of trying to surf as many waves as I can and sitting closer on the inside just really didn't pay off at all, especially because my competitors are all, were all kind of younger than me and a little bit smaller, and they had a similar strategy and could perform a lot better on those types of waves. So what I should have done is just adapted and then gone and sat out the back and waited for a few really good ones to try get a score. The other thing I need to look into is how to calm myself down in the heat. So maybe there's some breathing strategies I can look into, or some sort of meditative practice, but something that can just really, pull me back into the moment and kind of get out of my head, and just so that I can loosen up and surf as freely as possible. The most obvious thing that I need to do is I need to improve my surfing in a range of conditions. So I need to surf more, I need to start completing more critical maneuvers, and I need to give myself a little bit more practice time, or a little bit more lead time before competitions. There was only 10 days leading up to this comp to practice, and my paddle fitness was at 0, and I hadn't surfed that much at all, so it really was coming in from a low base. So the plan is now to enter another competition and have a bit more of a lead time, and hopefully really get my surfing into a much better position, so that I can at least give the heat a better shot than what I did this time around. So the whole point of me entering competition was that I needed a goal to motivate me to get fit, and from that point of view it certainly ticked that box. I mean, I surfed more in the past 10 days than what I probably would have over a 2-month period, so it really kind of like lit the fire and got that part of it going. So I've kind of started a foundational level of fitness, and I'm excited to kind of keep it going and really build from here. So that's it for this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so, and I'll see you in the next video.